Parker Schnabel is furious after a rookie faces disaster during his first shift at a gold mine. And what that disaster almost cost is nearly impossible to believe. Parker's operation just had its biggest season ever, crossing $20 million in total production. Kevin Beets pulled 245 ounces off his Sphinx cut in a single weigh-in, $876,000 in one shot. The best single result of his entire year, but none of that nearly happens because on the very first night shift of a brand new hire named Taven Peterson, a rookie who was already fired from Parker's own crew just weeks before this. It's never easy trying to let somebody go, but everybody needs to be a team player. And this guy is not. So, we have no choice but to say, sorry, you don't fit here. You don't work. A 100-pound boulder slips through damaged grizzly bars, jams the feed conveyor, and shuts Kevin's wash plant down completely. 10 hours in, first shift, new operation. And now Taven is standing in the dark, staring at a dead machine, knowing that if this goes wrong, his second chance is already over. Sounds like Taven had a little excitement for his first night shift, lifting the rock with a grizzly bar. Good plan. So, yeah, not bad for his first night. The firing to understand why Taven ends up at Scribner Creek fighting to keep a gold mine running, you have to understand how he got there in the first place. And it starts with a firing that it isn't Parker Schnabel himself who delivers the news. It's Parker's mine manager, the woman responsible for keeping the crew tight and the operation disciplined. She sits down with Taven for a direct, uncomfortable, and very final conversation. She tells Taven they're going to have to let him go. The reason is attitude. Taven, she says, has been a real know-it-all. Every time he was asked to do something, he found a way to do it his own way instead. Hello, Taven. Before your shift starts tonight, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind popping to the office here. I'd like to see you. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. That kind of behavior just doesn't work around here. Taven pushes back immediately. He insists he was trying to help, that he thought he was doing what was asked, but the manager isn't having it. She tells Taven he's been given ample weeks to fall in line and still chose to do it Taven's way every single time. On top of that, Taven had been boasting to the crew about how many loads he could run in an hour. The manager calls him out, asking who exactly does that. Taven tries to explain he was just proud of the number, but that defense makes it worse. And the manager points it out in real time. She tells Taven that right now, in this very conversation, he is doing exactly what got him fired, defending himself instead of listening. Taven isn't thinking ahead. He's falling behind because he refuses to hear what people are telling him. Pack up and head on out. Even then, Taven tries to argue there's still a case to be made, and the manager shuts it down completely. Even now, being let go, he's still insisting he's right. Get out. If my boss, my senior, tells me to do something, guess what? I think it would still be beneficial if that. See, you're still, I've let you go and you're still telling me that you're right. Get out of here. Honestly, go. I don't even want, go. Taven leaves quietly and says he understands now, but the damage is done. Every day on Parker Schnabel's operation, he had the same choice, listen and execute, or decide he knew better. And he chose the same answer every time. A gold mine cannot absorb that kind of friction. The manager made the call, the comeback. Most people in Taven's position would go home. The season is already underway. The Yukon is expensive. And the shame of being let go from one of the most famous mining operations in the world would be enough to send the average person to the airport. Taven Peterson is not the average person. Instead of going home, he goes looking for work. He describes his plan simply: he's starting a new chapter and he's going to knock on doors until someone gives him a shot. He loads up and starts driving from operation to operation across the region, showing up unannounced, introducing himself, and asking to be hired. There is a particular kind of stubbornness required to do this, to approach strangers with nothing to offer except a willingness to work hard and a recent firing on your record. But Taven does it anyway because, as he puts it, he loves gold mining and he simply cannot afford to go home yet. Not financially and not personally, that stubbornness pays off. Well, guess I'm starting a new chapter in my life and going to look for some work. I don't want to be going home because I love gold mining and, can't afford to go home yet. Taven lands a spot on Kevin Beets' crew at Scribner Creek. Kevin is running a tight operation on a short crew right now, just him and a man named Rick holding down the night shift while the rest of the team sleeps. The wash plant has to run around the clock to maximize production from the Sphinx cut, the new ground Kevin has bet a major piece of his season on. Every hour the plant runs is another ounce of gold moving through the system. Every hour it goes down is production that never comes back. When Taven arrives at Scribner Creek, the atmosphere is completely different from what he experienced at Parker's operation. He describes the crew as super welcoming people who are genuinely interested in teaching him how things are done and showing him the right way to run the plant. He gets put on the wash plant almost immediately, which for a newly hired rookie is a real signal of trust. Kevin is giving him a real role in a real operation. And Taven understands the weight of that. He didn't work out there. He might work out here. Only way we're going to find out is well, try him out. He says he takes a lot of pride in what he does. He wants to be on a winning team. He knows he needs to prove himself. And above everything else, he makes one thing crystal clear: he definitely does not want to get fired again. For a man who was just let go from one operation for refusing to listen, those words carry serious weight. The question is whether he can back them up when the pressure is actually on. He won't have to wait long to find out. 10 hours in night shift at a gold mine is its own discipline. The hours are long, the darkness is complete, and the operation keeps moving whether the sun is up or not. Kevin and Rick have been rotating through the hours, watching the feed, keeping the conveyor loaded, monitoring the plant to make sure the material keeps flowing steadily. It is not dramatic work. It is methodical, attentive, and relentless. You learn the sounds of the machine the way a captain learns the sounds of a ship, and you stay sharp enough to notice when something changes. Taven is 10 hours into his very first night shift at Scribner Creek when the wash plant shuts down completely. No warning, no gradual slowdown. One moment the plant is running and the next it is not. Something near the hopper, the chute that channels raw excavated material down onto the feed conveyor and into the wash plant, is wrong. The hopper is the entry point of the entire operation. It is the top of the chain. When it works, everything downstream works. When it doesn't, the whole process stops. And every ounce of gold sitting in the ground just stays there while the clock keeps ticking. Taven notices the change in rhythm and heads toward the hopper to investigate. What he finds stops him cold. There is a massive rock sitting in the throat of the machine. A genuine 100-pound boulder, dense and blocky, wedged so completely against the feed conveyor that the belt cannot move around it, over it, or through it. The feed is dead. Looked like it might have been the hopper. I think I'm going to go check it out. Oh my. Oh man, that's a big rock. The entire downstream operation, the wash plant, the sluice, every piece of gold recovery equipment downstream, is sitting completely idle because of one rock and one chute. The wash plant is down. This is how Taven Peterson's first night at Scribner Creek goes silent. To understand how a rock that size gets into the hopper, you have to understand the grizzly bars. The heavy steel grate that sits above the hopper and is specifically designed to stop this from happening. Raw material coming in from the excavator passes over the grizzlies first. The bars catch anything too large and prevent it from dropping down into the feed system. It is the plant's first line of defense, and under normal conditions, it works exactly as intended, but the Scribner Creek operation has been running hard. The grizzly bars have been taking the weight of thousands of tons of material, shift after shift, for the entire length of a long season. That kind of sustained stress bends steel. Over time, slowly and incrementally, the bars have warped and the gaps between them have widened. Not enough to be obvious, but enough. Just wide enough for the wrong rock coming in at the wrong angle to slip through the grate and drop straight down into the hopper rather than being screened out the way it should have been. That is exactly what happened. The boulder found the gap, slipped through, and now it owns the machine. Kevin Beets' night shift, the one built to keep the Sphinx cut producing around the clock 24 hours a day, has just come to a complete stop. All hands on deck. Chelsea March and Tyler Potter arrive from the day shift, showing up before their workday is even supposed to begin. When the wash plant goes down, the whole operation rallies. Production is everything at a gold mine, and when production stops, every available person moves toward the problem without being asked. Chelsea takes a look at the situation and identifies the issue right away. A big rock has gotten through the grizzlies, she says, and she cannot figure out how it managed to get through given the size of it compared to the gaps in the bars. I don't know how they managed to make their way through. The grizzlies are this big and the grizzlies are this big. But however it happened, it is in there now. And the question is how to get it out. That is not a simple question. A 100-pound boulder sitting in the hopper is not something you pull out by hand. The space around it is too confined. The rock itself is too heavy. And the geometry of the situation makes brute force impossible. What the crew needs is mechanical leverage. And the only mechanical leverage available is the one system already built into the plant. The grizzly bars connect to a hydraulic ram, a powerful actuator that lifts and drops the entire grate during normal operation to keep material moving and prevent blockages. Chelsea's solution is to repurpose that hydraulic power as a lifting mechanism. The plan is to thread a heavy chain down through the top of the hopper, wrap it tightly around the boulder, attach the other end of the chain to the grizzly frame, and then use the hydraulic ram to haul the rock up and out of the jam. The grizzly bar has become a crane. It is exactly the kind of field-engineered solution that keeps a remote gold mining operation alive when conventional options don't exist. I think we're going to have to get that big rock chained up to the grizzlies. Oh yeah. So use the power of the grizzlies to remote and lift it enough at least to get the dirt out to loosen up hopefully. Yeah, exactly. A crewman named David takes on the physically demanding job of getting the chain into position. He has to get down into the hopper space itself, a tight, muddy, steel-walled chute with almost no room to maneuver, and work the chain underneath and around the boulder until it is correctly positioned for the lift. It is slow, uncomfortable, awkward work, but he gets it done. The chain comes back up through the top. The crew wraps it around the grizzly frame and the connection is made. The boulder below, the chain running up through the throat of the hopper, the grizzly bars above, ready to act as the anchor point, the hydraulic ram engages. The grizzly bars begin to rise. The chain goes taut against the underside of the rock. Nothing happens. The rock does not move. The chain is holding. The pressure is there. But the boulder is wedged at an angle that the first lift alone cannot break. The crew holds their position and assesses calmly. Nobody panics. Nobody starts improvising on top of the improvisation. They think through the next step. When someone asks if the chain has broken, David confirms it hasn't. It may have shifted slightly on the rock, but the connection is still intact. So the crew tries a different approach, turning the feeder on just a fraction. Not enough to run material through, but enough to introduce vibration into the system and see if the previous lift has loosened the boulder at all, created just enough play in the jam to make the difference. The feeder hums on for a moment. Nothing changes. And then the rock moves, just slightly at first. A small, unmistakable shift that tells everyone watching exactly what is about to happen. And then it gives completely, rolling out of the hopper throat and dropping free. The feed conveyor opens up the instant the boulder clears it. The whole pathway is restored. The boulder hits the ground with a heavy final thud. Somebody stares at it. That's about as big as they come. The wash plant comes back online. The conveyor loads. The plant hums back to its rhythm. When Taven watches the restart, his relief is clear. He calls it a little chaotic, but says the plant is going, and that's what counts. When Kevin hears the full account of the night, the shutdown, the 100-pound boulder, the chain, the hydraulic ram, the restart, his reaction is direct and measured. He calls it quite the jam up, confirms the rock slipped through the grizzlies, and acknowledges that lifting it out using the grizzly bars was a good plan. Then he delivers a verdict on Taven's first night that is as understated as it is significant. Not bad for his first night. The payoff: Kevin Beets arrives at Scribner Creek the next morning to find the plant running and Taven long since gone to sleep. Hey David, quite the jam up last night. Big rock slipped through the grizzlies. I see you got it out. How'd that go? So, we ended up tying a chain to the grizzlies and wiggling it up. Good job, man. Thank you. Well, sounds like you had enough excitement for today, so you may as well go get some sleep. Enjoy the day. The crew walks him through what happened during the night. The boulder in the hopper, the chain fix, the grizzly bars used as the crane, the restart. Kevin takes it all in and calls it exactly what it was, quite the jam up. He hears how the crew got the rock out, tells David good job, and then notes that Taven has probably had enough excitement for one day and should get some sleep. His assessment of Taven's night is brief, blunt, and entirely in character. Lifting the rock out with the grizzly bars, he says, was a good plan. And for his first night, not bad, for a rookie who was fired from Parker's operation just weeks earlier, let go by his own manager for a stubborn refusal to listen. Those 4 words carry more weight than they might seem. Not bad for his first night is not a compliment. It is something more durable than a compliment. It is acknowledgement from one of the most demanding mine operators in the Yukon that a young man who once couldn't get out of his own way found himself in a genuinely serious situation and handled it without making things worse. That is what Kevin Beets' operation demands of people. That is the standard. And on this particular morning, with the wash plant running and the scale reading 245 ounces, it is enough. Kevin walks back toward the Sphinx cut. The wash plant keeps running. The season keeps moving forward. 1 shift at a time, 1 ounce at a time. Exactly the way a gold season is supposed to run when the right people are doing their jobs. That is exactly what surviving your first shift at a gold mine looks like.